Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of At the Movies, where we are here as usual to discuss going to the movies, why we think that experience is so impactful, and what it means as an exhibitor to bring that experience to an audience. So today, Danielle has some super special interviews to share with us for the film that was released last weekend, War with Grandpa.
It's like a huge A-lister cast actually for a family film, which I was really surprised by, but it was also my first time interviewing De Niro. And not gonna lie, I was so nervous.
Oh, I can imagine. I mean, it's the man. It's
Oh,
the man,
like
the myth,
it's
De
De
Niro.
Niro.
Mhm.
Like what? And I've done hundreds of these, like literally hundreds of interviews. But this one, I was actually shaking a little bit beforehand because it was a moment.
But here, why don't we listen to a little bit of that interview right now?
Starting with you, Mr. De Niro, did you read the book prior to shooting the film, or did you get attached to the project in another way?
I was told by Marvin Payard got in touch with me. He's the principal producer of the movie. Who said his son, who was 11 at the time or 10, read the book and told his dad about it and said, "Listen, you got to do this as a movie and with me in it and so on." So this is what Marvin had told me, his son Trey. And then I met. Then we came up with the director Tim Hill. I read the book. I had read the script before, and that's how it started. And Tim was terrific, and then put the cast together, and that's how it was. Yeah.
Yeah. And Oaks, Laura, had you heard of the book whenever you signed on to the project?
I had heard of the book but not read it, and then after I read the script, I read the book as well. I mean, it's not a dense book or a difficult book to read, so I
1,200 pages, fine print, but
but yeah, no, I mean, I looked at it, and there's similarities and differences, but it definitely was something that I looked into after learning of the project.
Yeah, I had heard of the book as well, kind of similar to Oaks, but I'd also heard what Bob was just saying about what Trey did. And I loved that story that Trey read the book, was like, I want to make a movie. I want Robert De Niro as the grandfather. I mean, this kid, again, like Bob said, he's an 11-year-old kid. I was like very impressed. And throughout the whole filming, Trey was on set with a headset. He's our executive producer. It was kind of amazing.
How cute. Okay, so there are a lot of really fun pranks on set. Did he have a hand in creating any of these pranks that happened during the war?
Ooh, I don't know. But he's definitely he's a playful person. Trey was always around during. I mean, I would be doing school on set with all the other younger actors, and Trey would also be in school with us because he was working just as we were. But it was definitely interesting. He's a playful person. We had a lot of fun on and off set. I think a lot of us as the younger actors during the time, we became close and had friendships and had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Who on set do you think out of the cast would be the best prankster?
Oh, absolutely, Rob.
True,
right.
actually.
Yeah.
True. Rob Riggle would dominate.
Now, before I wrap up here, I have to ask Mr. De Niro, because this film is going to be one of the first films headed back into theaters, which I'm
Yeah.
very excited about. And it is the 30th anniversary of Goodfellas. Do you remember what it felt like to watch Goodfellas on the big screen for the very first time?
Yeah, but I don't. I went to a screening. Obviously, I saw it. It was okay. We were. Yeah, it was. I mean, I've been to a lot of screenings of movies of mine when they first put them out for the director, and involved in the movie. It's a different thing. So I mean, you could feel good about it and stuff, of course, but
Yeah.
yeah, and you have no idea how people are going to I forget how many people were in the audience when I looked at it, a preview screening or whatever. Maybe it was past preview by the time I saw it. You just don't know. And especially Goodfellas had ups and downs as far as preview screenings went. The Warners didn't like it. They were putting pressure on Marty Scorsese to do this and that, the way I understand it. And he went through a bit with that, and finally things turned around. So that was good because he could get that recognition, if you will, and backing off on the pressure to cut something, to do this, to do that, which was hard for him to want to do.
Yeah, wow. And look what it's become today.
Yeah.
Well, I am so excited for you guys and for this film. Can't wait for people to see it in theaters. And I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's really crazy. I don't know if I would be able to handle talking to Robert De Niro. I'd probably urinate myself.
Oh my God.
To be honest.
And I wish I would have gotten him by himself, because he was paired with Laura and Oaks. And so whenever you're doing, first of all, like everything's over Zoom right now. And
Mhm.
we were talking about this earlier. It's so weird trying to have a conversation with somebody. One, like instantly connect with them, because you only have 4 to 5 minutes to actually have a conversation that people will want to listen to, because that's the whole point of these. And then with Zoom, if you have more than 2 people, it is so hard to do interviews, because Zoom will literally drop people out based on who they think is talking. And so
Mhm.
during a conversation, like when you're normally talking in a group of people, multiple people talk at once sometimes, or you just kind of have banter back and forth. And that's just a normal conversation. Well, in Zoom, you can't have that banter, because Zoom will cut somebody's audio. And
Mhm.
so it just is like, I don't know, it's just weird and it just gets awkward. And so I think he in the interview was trying to let them talk, but they were also like, well, this is Bob De Niro and everybody's going to want to talk to Bob. And so it was one of those things.
Yeah, I think the Goodfellas question kind of caught him by surprise. I think he was not expecting to have to really answer what that movie going experience felt like.
So that surprised me, because it's the 35th anniversary, or it just was the 35th anniversary as a Goodfella. And like everybody wanted to talk about it, because it's one of the greatest gangster movies of all time. And like, it's one of his biggest roles, even though he's had this incredible career and done, just about every noteworthy movie out there. But I had asked him about if he remembered, the first time seeing Goodfellas on the big screen, because there are a lot of fans out there that remember that, because that film, it just hit that way. It was one of those movies that people look back on and they're like, this was a cinematic moment for me. This is a memory that I hold to. The experience of seeing that in theaters is, a significant memory for a lot of people. And so I figured for him, it would be.
Well, it was also so long ago, and he has a valid point. It's probably very, very different when you're involved in
Yeah.
making the movie. You get to see all your hard work pay off on screen, but like I'm sure you're a little desensitized to the process, especially someone who is as high of a caliber as Robert De Niro.
Mhm.
And so on top of this, you also got to speak with um, the legendary Cheech Marin and
Yes.
Dr. Quinn medicine woman, Jane Seymour. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, they were an interesting pairing, because I don't think you could find 2 more opposite individuals to put into a room together.
But here, why don't we listen to a little bit of that interview right now?
Okay. Hello, both of you. It's so nice to be talking to you today.
A pleasure.
You too.
So this movie is based off of a best-selling kids book. Did either of you read the book prior to joining the project, or did you just kind of dive in?
I didn't read it.
Yeah.
I was told it was a bestseller, and I thought that the script was a bestseller, so I just went with the script.
I don't know how to read, so that was for me easy choice.
I have to say that your team, if you will, in the movie sounds like the most incredible dream team ever. I mean, both of you, Robert De Niro, Christopher Walken.
That's exactly why I joined. I was wanted to be in the picture with both of those, and then be in a Robert De Niro picture and you don't get whacked and you're there at the end. So that's like a win-win for everybody.
I thought it was amazing. And, you know, everyone is so different and has such different styles of working and such extraordinary bodies of work. And the only one I'd worked with before was Christopher Walken. And I remember the first time I worked with him, it was like, what is with this delivery? I mean, how do you act alongside?
Yeah.
But by now, you know, I realized, you know, how well it worked and what fun it was. And between him and De Niro and Cheech, we really had a blast.
Yeah, I mean, you just look like you're having a lot of fun in the movie. So I have to know, out of the whole cast, who's the biggest prankster, or the one who's most likely to be at war with somebody in their family and creating these elaborate pranks?
Well, not me.
I would probably do that, you know, given the choice, and it's okay with my officer, you know.
So if the two of you, and we'll start with you first, Jane, if the two of you had to put together your own dream team to go to war, if you will, with your family, who would you have to have on your team?
You mean of our friends or of actors?
The world is your oyster. Whoever.
Who would be on my dream team? Well, I might pick oh gosh, that's really hard. I might pick another woman, just so it's a little bit more equal.
Yeah.
Sorry. God, that's way too hard. Maybe the late Christopher Reeve, I would have picked him. He'd be handy. Meryl Streep, because she'd be fun to act with, and she could play anything, so she could pull off any prank. Oh gosh, this is really too hard a question. Vince Vaughn, because we wouldn't have to say anything; he'd just rub it on, and that's it.
Cheech, how about you?
Who I'd like to work with, I will work with Don Johnson again. We had the most fun, and one of my dream team would be Robert De Niro. So dreams come true, and
yes,
that was so sad when this movie got delayed for me. I said, my big chance to work with Robert De Niro, nobody's going to see it, but stay in one place for the long time, and it'll fall on you.
Yeah, and speaking up to wrap things up here, it is coming to theaters, which I'm so excited about. So what's your favorite thing about going to the movies as we wrap up here?
I just love hearing the laughter, you know, the live experience of other people finding something funny, and that energy, you know, it's just exciting when there are other people around, and of course the popcorn.
Yeah. Me too. I mean, you go there for a theater grade popcorn. You know, you can make popcorn at home, but it's not theater.
Well, thank you both so much. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you today. I really appreciate your time.
So you also had the opportunity to talk with the great Rob Riggle, who I loved him in 21 Drum Street. He was so funny.
I think since that point, I've interviewed him twice. I think this was my second time. Everything starts to run together after a while.
I can imagine.
But he is one of the funnest people to talk to, because one, he's just a really nice guy. He's very engaging. Like he's very nice. He gets it. Like he's like one of those guys like Kevin Hart and, you know, Dwayne Johnson. Like they get the showmanship piece of being an entertainer. And so when they do press or they go and promote a film or a project that they're in, like they're all in. And I love that. I love when an entertainer, an actor, director, whatever role you want to specifically speak to. I love it when someone in that industry understands that their job is to entertain, right? And that's from start to finish. So people are listening to these interviews because they are excited about being entertained, you know, and they want to be entertained and they want to hear more about the film that's coming out so they can be entertained. So I love it when people get that, and that makes the interview so much more fun, because no matter where you go with it, like they go with you. And so for him, you know, Brandon and I had kind of talked about how he's a big fan of the Kansas City Chiefs. Like he's a huge Chiefs fan. And so in the interview, I kind of like used that to talk about the film. And, you know, we ended up talking about football a little bit. And so it just, I don't know, it makes for a unique conversation. Because when you do these things, these actors and directors, they get asked the same question all day long,
Right.
like over and over and over again. And so it's always the goal to try to find something that's a little bit different, but still can actually speak to the film in a really fun way. And
Mhm.
when you have a kids movie like this, it's not a deep film. Like you're not having some philosophical conversation about a grandpa being at war with his grandson over a bedroom, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a moment and let's hear what Rob Riggle had to say about the movie.
Hi, Rob. How are you today?
Good, Danielle. How are you?
I'm doing good. So happy to be here.
Good. Me too.
So, question of the day. We're going to bring it back to when you were a kid. When you when you were a boy, if the grandfather of the NFL and founder of the Kansas City Chiefs, Lamar Hunt, stole your room, how would you go to war?
I don't know if I would. I'll be honest. I'd probably give him a big pass with only one condition. He just decorate my room with Chiefs stuff. I think that would be it.
What if I upped the ante and said if you won, you actually got to rename the AFC trophy? Would that make a difference here?
Yeah, it might. It might.
Just
Well,
a little bit.
It's too much tradition. It's the Lamar Hunt trophy. Got to give it to him. Got to give it to him.
I get it. So in the war with Grandpa, Robert De Niro has his own dream team. Like he's got his wing men and women by his side, whole battle. So if you had to put together a team, who would your team be?
Oh, wow. What are we talking? Actors, real life friends? What are we talking?
I mean, the world is your oyster, my friend.
Okay, good. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and some of my other Kansas City friends. Man, Paul Rudd, Jason Sudeikis, Eric Stonestreet, Dave Koechner. They're all good. I'd like to have them on my side. Judy Greer, I like to have her around. She's funny and super talented. Got to have her part of the team. Mm-hmm. She can pull off anything.
The best team to ever be assembled. Like I kind of want to see this team in a superhero movie.
I kind of do too. Now that we're talking about it, I'm already starting to think about a script for it right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is getting good. Jake Johnson, Damon Wayans Jr. Yeah, give me a minute because I'm going to write down a whole list here.
Yeah. You know, I love that we actually get to see War with Grandpa in theaters where it's going to be open. I know some areas theaters aren't quite open yet. And this is a fun comedy. It's meant, you know, for laughing out loud and just having a great time. So what's so great? Like what, in your opinion, is the best thing about seeing a comedy in a movie theater with a bunch of people?
You know, I think the shared experience. I've been in a movie theater. I've seen the same movie in an empty theater and in a crowded theater. And the experience in a crowded theater is infinitely better because everybody's laughing. And there's this, the collective experience of enjoying. It's like, imagine going to a concert by yourself versus a crowd. Or if you went to a football game and it was just you compared to 50,000 screaming fans, like the crowd changes the atmosphere, it changes the experience. So yeah, I think seeing a movie, especially a comedy in a theater, enhances the experience. And this is a family comedy, a family live action comedy, which they don't make enough of, in my opinion. So you can take the grandparents all the way down to the kids, and the whole family can go. So that's rare, and I think that could make for a great night out.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Right back at you.
Thanks so much. Great talking to you.
Nice talking to you too.
So it seemed like Rob was the one who everyone was voting as probably the biggest on-set prankster.
Oh, yeah.
And he had quite the list of who he would have on his dream team to do battle. So actually, now that you've got the chance to ask everyone else this question, I feel like someone needs to ask you, who would be on your dream team?
Ooh. I don't know. Rob Riggle had a great dream team, and we kind of joked that we wanted an Avengers style movie with this dream team. One, because I think it would be really funny.
Mhm.
The mix of personalities, like I would pay to go see that movie. But I also love when Jane said Meryl. I'm a huge Meryl fan. And
Mhm.
I would want Meryl Streep on my dream team for
You could put her in
sure.
anything.
Right? I feel like she's just a chameleon. She can do whatever. You'd be like, hey, Meryl, we need you to play this like night ninja. And she'd be like, all right. And all of a sudden, like, bust out a bunch of stars and start doing ninja moves. Like, she's just that in my mind. She can do whatever. So she would definitely be on it. I think Rob would definitely have to be on it for sure.
All I can say is I can now brag to people to say that I know someone who was on a phone call with Robert De Niro, and that's pretty cool.
Right?
So hats off to you.
Oh, geez. I got done with it. And I think I posted on my Instagram stories. I was like, I'm still in shock right now. Like my whole body is in shock because I was just on a Zoom call with Bob De Niro. And those words I never imagined would come out of my mouth. As a cinema lover, as a person,
Mhm.
I never thought I would have that moment, but it took me a little bit to recoup.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, that's pretty incredible. I'm so jealous, but I'm gonna try to steal as much of the limelight as I can by saying like, hey, like, look, I'm on a phone call right now with someone who was on a phone call with Robert De Niro. So
Yeah, there you go.
I'm just gonna be riding your coattails a little bit, if you don't mind.
Not at all. Please join.
So the War with Grandpa, did you like how was it? Did you get a chance to see it? Did you get a chance to see it in a theater, or was it more of like a screener type thing? Tell me about it.
Yeah. So normally for press interviews and things like that, you would see the film in theaters. But with COVID, the only film that I've had an opportunity to do that with was Tenet. And I saw Tenet in theaters twice, which made me really happy. But for War with Grandpa, they sent us a screener link. So Brandon and I, who's on this podcast all the time, he and I actually watched it at home. And it's one of those, it is out in theaters, so you can see it in theaters now, which is really cool. It just wasn't open prior to it coming out. But it's like a cute little family film. Like if you are tired of being cooped up in the house with your kids, this is a film that would be great to take the whole family to. And you've got an all-star cast, which I was not expecting going into it. And so yeah, it's a good little watch. And Uma Thurman's back.
Mm-hmm.
She's in it.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, War with Grandpa is in theaters now. It's very, very family friendly. Take your young ones, take your old ones alike. It's an enjoyable film.
Yes, I think this is a great film for grandparents to go see with their grandkids too. Because I also think so his dream team in the movie is like the best. You've got Jane, you've got Cheech, you've got him, and then you have
Chris Walken.
Christopher Walken, who I love. I love Christopher Walken. And so I would watch a movie that was just about them, like getting into nonsense, because they're so much fun to watch together and they play off of each other so well.
Right on. Well, War with Grandpa is in theaters now. Thank you for taking the time to share some of these interviews with us. That's so cool. I'm so jealous. But yeah, until next time, this has been At the Movies.